Ladies and gentlemen, 2 program notes on Tuesday's radio show. I'm going to have huge breaking news that I'm asking for all of you to join us in. Something very, very important. Huge breaking important news that you will be involved in. And it's big, biggest thing we've ever done. Coming up Tuesday. You don't want to miss that. We're going to have some foreshadowing, some idea of it in a post tomorrow at prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. But then look for it Tuesday. Also, there's a new film. It was the main selection, the winner of this year's South by Southwest, New World Order. And I'm the main featured individual in that. It's now out on DVD with an expanded extras available at Infowars.com. Of course, there's my 2 latest films, government-sponsored terrorism, Terror Storm, and the 9/11 Chronicles, all available at Infowars.com via the safe, secure online video bookstore shopping cart. We also have Richard Gage documentaries and all the great books, T-shirts, and materials that get the word out. I want to take a few calls for our guest coming up here, but in 3 or 4 minutes before we take some final calls, you'll have a full hour with less ads coming up on the Wednesday show. Professor Stephen Jones is also on. Other key points about this piece and this attempt to debunk 9/11 truth. I mean, if 9/11 truth wasn't important and wasn't exposing stage terror, the whole pretext the establishment uses for control, they wouldn't be trying to debunk you.
Yeah, this is true. This is good news. Let's take it as that, Alex. There's a serious attempt to make a very unscientific analysis to label us as conspiracy theorists and show, but I think it all backfired. I really do. It was so shoddy, as you suggest, that it can't hold water with thinking people. It simply can't. I mean, we have 800 architects and engineers now signed on to the petition. Virtually every architect and engineer who's at our presentation or reviews our DVD ends up going, "Oh my God, well, I can't believe I didn't know about all of this. How come I hadn't heard about this?" Of course, this makes sense. You're right. And they end up signing our petition. It's pretty extraordinary. I mean, we have incredible response rate, show of hands everywhere we go around the world.
Well, that's the big dirty secret, is that every time they do these shoddy hit pieces, it just wakes more people up. It's like they're saying the world is flat, we're saying it's round. They do TV specials saying it's flat. They're discrediting themselves. The question is, why do they keep doing it?
They have to respond somehow, and I guess they just don't do a real good job of manipulating. Maybe that's the best they're capable of. It's disturbing that I spend a half an hour to an hour presenting very detailed evidence for all of this stuff, and it doesn't get on. But I've learned to not take it personally and to almost expect it. And we think any exposure like this is better than none, particularly when they help us by doing such a bad job of it.
Let's play a short little clip here where they then spend the second half of the piece bumbling and babbling on National Geographic, saying this is what we want to believe and that we're basically delusional. Here it is.
Theories.
The reality is, this far out, no one has been able to provide a single piece of evidence that those buildings were explosively demolished. And the reason is they weren't.
By presenting this new evidence to the truthers, they and we might learn more about their theories, their beliefs, and perhaps most importantly, why they want to believe.
You take out some of those experiments you paid a lot of money for, but don't prove anything, you're going to have a lot of...
I mean, folks, it is a complete joke. Let's take some phone calls for Richard Gage. John in Louisiana, you're on the air. Go ahead.
How you doing, Alex?
Good.
How you doing, Richard? I would like to ask you, Richard, how long do you think that, because, nanothermite is very, very small, not very noticeable, how long do you think they could have been present in the towers?
It was painted on clearly, and we even know they say unconventional fireproofing was put on, but That's what one of the underwriters with you, Underwriting Laboratories, said here on the show. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, Kevin Ryan has done some analysis indicating that there were indeed fireproofing retrofits in the floors above and below the point of jet plane impacts, which are different in each of the North Tower and the South Tower. So that's very interesting. He documents that in Journal of 9/11studies.com. Relative to your question about how long, this stuff's been available for about 10 years. We know for the last 9 months that there was an elevator retrofit going on, the largest elevator modernization in history, actually, where all the core elevators, the elevators in the core of each tower were changed out. They had 85 employees, in fact, from Ace Elevator scatter the morning of 9/11 after the first jet plane hit. They were supposed to stick around and help the first responders. But somebody, perhaps in the guise of an elevator modernization, could have had access to the core columns and beams in the building.
And they had all sorts of weird terror drills evacuating. Thank you, John. Finish up, Richard.
Yeah, so there was access there. So when we talk about who might have been able to do this, we have to say who had access to the building.
They also say, where's the det cord? We would have seen det cord. Well, FEMA was all secretive. Everything was blown into tiny pieces. There were all these maintenance shafts and maintenance floors.
We have timed devices that are very small and very high-tech now. You don't need det cord. This is wireless. This is wireless technology now.
Absolutely. Let's jam in another. Seal in Canada, you're on the air.
Hello there.
Hi.
Well, Mr. Jones, General Jones, and gentlemen, I'm so glad to talk to you today, calling you from Alberta up here in the foothills of the Rockies. And, this comment by National Geographic where they say why they want to believe. It's more better said who they want to believe. I mean, who are you going to believe? You going to believe these people that are bringing these chemtrails and this swine flu and all the questions of that? All these people that are dead that were students that made this swine flu bacteria and all the rest of it? Who are you going to believe?
Absolutely. I appreciate your call. Yeah, I mean, it's declassified that 500,000 Americans were sterilized illegally, that foster children were taken and tested pesticides, chemicals, radiologicals, that all of this goes on, that our own troops were nerve gassed to death. And so if the government would do this in the past, why wouldn't they do this now, Richard Gage?
I'll have to leave that question for somebody else. We do focus on the evidence at the World Trade Center for the explosive demolition.
Absolutely. You're looking at the science, but if you have a history of a government that staged terror attacks and treats human life like it's a negative, not just doesn't care about it, you got to think about that. Bill in Texas, last caller, got about a minute and a half left. Bill, go ahead.
Hey, Alex. Certainly nice to talk to you finally. Listen, I'm members of both of you guys' websites, and I have two questions. One is the pilots for 9/11 Truth, which is another group similar to architects and engineers, most of them believe that no planes were used, or at least they think that the maneuvers that were called upon the hijackers to do were impossible for them to do them. Do you guys believe there were planes used?
Yeah, let me take this here. They have people in the National Geographic Special, the leaders of the No Plane Group, wearing pictures of me on their body and dressed up like dragons. This is disinfo government, period. Now, we're saying questionable Pentagon because of witnesses. When we say cargo planes, but not regular planes, that's in Operation Northwoods, declassified, so we have to look at it. See, the government and their disinfo ops want you to get off and other stuff, and I've talked to pilots for 9/11 Truth. The majority of them do not believe that. And so that was a straw man false statement, but hell of a way to end the show. Richard Gage, you're back up on the show Wednesday with Professor Stephen Jones. We'll really go through the science, then play more clips of it. Jason Burmis is going to do 3 hours on this coming up right when the show ends on the internet streams at Infowars.com and on the AM and FMs that carry the Info Warrior. That's Sundays, 6 to 9 p.m. Central Time. But Richard Gage, your comments, I would imagine, on the plane stuff is you stick to the science, what you can prove.
Yeah, well, of course, planes hit the World Trade Center Twin Towers. There's no question in our minds about that. The damage was real. But
yeah, all the government can do is just put in kooky conspiracy theories to try to... I mean, that's like when Garrison had people popping up saying, that... saying kooky things in the trial to discredit. Go ahead.
So acknowledges that the structure of the buildings did their job. It was the weakening by fire that they say brought the buildings down. But as you mentioned earlier, fire cannot create several tons of molten metal found by the first responders and others and seen in the photos and videos throughout. So it makes no sense. The official story is the rug has been pulled out.
Absolutely, yeah. We're not poo-pooing other theories and ideas. We're sticking with what we can prove. Richard Gage, thank you so much. We'll see you Wednesday.
Thank you, Alex.
God bless you all. Huge news Tuesday.